Greetings, it's Ian from RDO here. Welcome to another album ranking. Today we have got Bob Catley. Some people may not recognise the name, but they'll recognise the person. Yes, it is of course the lead singer of Magnum. Although Magnum, unfortunately, they have now split up because of the sad death of Tony Clarkin. Apart from being in Magnum, when Magnum split up before him and Tony formed Hard Rain, we've covered them, but we haven't looked at Bob's solo albums. Now, in his career, he's managed to put out 6 solo albums. All very good. There is not one bad album amongst these. So we'll have a look at Bob Catley's 6 solo albums. So coming in at number 6, we have the 5th album from 2006, and it's called Spirit of Man. Of course, Bob does the vocals. On guitars, we have Vince O'Regan, who does a lot of work with Bob. Dave Thompson is on the rhythm guitar. Al Barrow, once bass player with Magnum. Jamie Little on the drums, Irving Parrott on keyboards. Ignore the siren, sorry folks, it is too hot and stuffy in here to have windows shut, so I do apologise for that. First track on here is a track called Heart of Stone. Now this is a little bit more heavier than what you expect from Magnum. It's got a more grunt to it, and it's got a great bass line from Al Barrow. He was a great bassist, and it's a great opening track. Moment of Truth, really good song. The lead guitar work here from Vince is super. Bob's vocal, he always puts 100% into what he sings. His voice has always stayed strong, and I do like this track. Up next is In the Name of the Cause. Driving riffs here from both Dave Thompson and Vince Regan, with Al coming beyond with another pretty cool bass line, and Bob just on fire. Blinded by a Lie. It's just got too much keyboard in this. Very commercial, but I don't know if it was a single or not, but it was just too much for me. Last Snow of Winter, really like this song. It's melodic, it is very Magnum. Wonderful little track. But my favourite track on here is actually the title track, Spirit of Man. Excellent melodic song, great vocal from Bob. I really love this song. It's near enough as good to get on a Magnum album, I think, that one. The Fire Within Me, which starts off with this lovely double riff guitar sound, and then Vince does a little bit more lead, and there's a great drumming here on this one. Some super it's a sort of really great Jamie Little drum solo type thing on that as well. Judgment Day, another corker of a track. You thought it was Magnum, to be quite honest. That's how good it is. It is a super track. Lost to the Night, another great track with Bob doing a fine performance on that. Beautiful Mind, I'd say this is the weakest track on here, but it's still a good track. It hasn't got the same ring as all the others, but it is half decent. Walk on Water, once again, have a little bit too much keyboard for me. You don't hear the guitars as much. End of the Story, the last track, just a great rock track to end the album. Fine delivery on vocals from Bob and some nice riffs on this. It's a really good album. A couple of tracks on here that are not particularly my favourites, but it is a solid album all the way through. And I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay, then coming in at number 5, we have the 4th album from 2003, When Empires Burn. On here is, joining them now is, on keyboards, Paul Hodgson, who does some vocals as well. Al Barrow on the bass again, Vince O'Regan on guitar, and Jamie Little on the drums. The first track is a little intro thing. It's very cinematic sort of grandeur. It's called The Torment, which goes lovely straight into the first proper track, Children of the Circle. Some great guitar work here from Vince. The drumming from Jamie is good. Superb song, and Bob's on fire as ever. Gonna Live Forever. Interesting track. It's very commercial, but it's a very, very good track from Bob singing, and a great guitar solo from Vince on that one. And then we have a track called The Prophecy. Now, this is my favourite track on this album. It's probably Bob's best vocal on this. Absolutely killer guitar work, especially that bass line from Al Barrow. I'll Be Your Fool, another very commercial sounding track, but it's good. It's got a good beat to it, and that's, as long as it's got a good beat to it, I'm okay with it. Every Beat of My Heart is a great little melodic sort of track, sort of stuff that he was doing with Magnum at the time as well. It's a great vocal from Bob, as ever. When Empires Burn, a great track, some lovely harmony vocals on this. Of course, this will be between Paul Hodgson and Bob Catley. It's an excellent track. Then we have a little track called Meaning of Love. It's a nice little ballad. It's a soft sort of track, and I don't mind it at all. This Is the Day, second favourite track on here. It's got a killer solo from Vince, and the drumming from Jamie's good, and another super vocal from Bob. Someday, Utopia, good rocker here. You know, let them loose on a good rocker. Bob's on fire. My America, I do like this. It's got some grandeur to it. It's got a bit of cinematic. Can't say that word. You know what I mean. It's just a great song to end the album. Another solid album from Bob. Really enjoy this one as well. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.6. Okay, coming in at number 4, we've got a third album from the year 2000, and it's called Middle Earth. Now, this album draws upon Tolkien's Lord of the Rings for inspiration. Now, this is a different lineup. You've got Bob Catley, of course, on vocals. Gary Hughes, vocals and keyboards from the band 10. Vinnie Burns, Dare and 10. Steve McKenna from 10. And you've got John Cooksey on drums, with Tracy Hitchens doing some vocals as well. The Wrath of the Rings, love this opening. Some great guitar from Vinnie Burns, fine guitarist. You've got Gary Hughes with his keyboard and his little bits of vocal on it. It's an excellent track to open the album with. Then we have The Fields That I Recall. Really good little track again. The wonderful piano work of Gary Hughes. I love this track. City Walls. Tell it's, the influence of 10, that their sort of music really suits Bob's singing. The bass line from Steve McKenna is absolutely brilliant. Love that track. Where you lead, I'll follow. It's so 10, it's unbelievable, but it's still a brilliant track. Excellent track all round. Return of the Mountain King. It's like a fusion of Magnum and 10 here, and two great bands' thoughts and processes, and it's an excellent track. Then we have The End of Summer. Great track, my favourite on here. Great guitar solo from Vinnie Burns, using all that experience from his days with 10 and, of course, Dare. Fantastic track. This gallant band of Manic Strangers just sort of carries on a little bit from The End of Summer. And we've got a great vocal here from Bob, and some more great keyboard work from Gary. The Fellowship It's a nice keyboards and drumming on this. Really strong album. It's track to end the album. If you're going to have something Lord of the Rings, you get some people that like this mystical sort of sound and ideas. Gary from 10, guys from 10 coming in. It's a belter of an album, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay, then coming in at number 3, we have the 6th album from 2008. It's his most current one, and it is called Immortal. Now, joining Bob on here, we've got Dennis Ward on guitars and bass and keyboards, Yul Retnour on guitars as well, and Magnus Carlson, who's played with Alan and Lund on keyboards, guitars as well, and Dirk Broomberg on drums. First track on here is called Dreamers Unite. It is a great track. Having Magnus Carlson on bar and some of these Scandinavian guys, you've got that real Scandinavian rock feel to this. Dennis playing some great guitars on this. Is an excellent track. We Are Immortal. That bass line is terrific. It's proper Scandinavian rock, and Bob just seems to go with the flow here, and his singing on this is brilliant. My favourite track on here is End of the World. The guitar solo is done by Magnus Carlson, who I think is a fine musician. It's got that Scandinavian feel to it. It's quite odd having Bob singing one that's a Scandinavian rock sort of track, but it's a brilliant track. Open Your Eyes, great vocal from Bob. His vocal range is super, just a superb track. The Searcher, love the start of it. It's got that lovely piano that you associate with Scandinavian rock. Brilliant stuff. One More Night, that Scandinavian soul is through it, and Bob is brilliant on this. The guitar work from Dennis is super as well. Light Up My Way, one of my favourites on here. The combination of the singing and the style of singing from Bob Catley and Carlson's wonderful interpretation of music. He had a lot of input on this album, and it is a superb track. You Are My Star. The guitar work is brilliant on this. Bob's on Fire. War in Heaven. This is sort of a spirit story sort of thing that, you know, you could see Magnum doing this sort of song. Really good. And Win the Throne, one of the heaviest tracks I've ever heard Bob sing on. It's absolutely brilliant. There's some great guitar riffs on this. Haunted. This is one of the melodic sort of rock tracks. Builds up. It's got a fantastic solo from Dennis on this, and it's the great track to end this album. That mixture of the Scandinavian influence on here, it was absolutely brilliant. Some heavy stuff on here, but Bob's vocals he just kills the vocals on this. Absolutely brilliant album, and I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 8.2. Okay, coming in at number 2, we have the second album from 1999, and it's Legends, and the album songs are based on legendary characters from literature. Homer, Dracula, the Phantom of the Opera, etc. Once again, he's teamed up with the guys from 10, so it's Bob, Gary Hughes, Vinnie Burns, Steve McKenna, and John Cooksey on drums. First track on here is called The Pain. Great opening track. You've got some great keyboard from Gary. Vinnie's great guitar work on here. Great bass line. Super track. Shelter from the Night. The drumming on here from John Cooksey is fantastic. Some great backing vocals from Gary Hughes, who is a fine vocalist, as we know, in his own right. Very good. Carpe Diem comes next. Nothing to do with all the other versions of Carpe Diem that people have recorded. It's a melodic track. Great vocal from Bob on that one. Tender is the Night. It's very 10, without a doubt. You're half expecting to to Gary to come in with the lead vocal, but you get Bob. It's just wonderful. And Bob and Gary does a bit of the backing vocals. It's very melodic. It's a fantastic track. Medusa, my favourite track on here. I think this is the best vocal from Bob on this album. Some wonderful guitar work from Vinnie Burns. Hydra. Now this is Gary and Bob singing. Two great singers. They complement each other and they deliver on this track. A Beautiful Night for Love. Some shimmery cymbals from John on there. Lovely piano piece with a great little guitar bit from Vinnie. It's very more Dare, that sort of guitar work. Too Late, another melodic track. Bob sings these songs great. Some nice little riffs in there from Vinnie. We got The Light. That combination of Gary and Bob singing, the combination of Vinnie and Gary on the guitar and keyboards, and you got this wonderful bass line from Steve McKenna. Throw in a great vocal from Bob and you've got a great song. Where the Heart Is, it's a ballad. It's got some lovely guitar work from Vinnie. I would say this is definitely my favourite album of the two sort of 10 Magnum lineups. You've got more bits of Magnum, but there's plenty of 10 on here, and a little bit of Dare as well. And I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 8.3. But my number one album is the very first album that Bob put out as a solo artist in 1998, and it's called The Tower. It was a sort of a collaboration with Gary Hughes, who is a huge Magnum fan. So Bob is doing vocals, Glenn Hughes on vocal and bass. We've got Vinnie Burns on guitar and Greg Morgan on drums on this one. Dreams. This is more like a track from Dare. You have Huck Sparrow and Darren Waterton to start singing. It's Celtic. The guitar work from Vinnie is superb. Second favourite track on here. Scream. Another great combination of Gary and Bob. Wonderful. Far Away. Vinnie's guitar work is wonderful. It's straight out of his Dare days. He's a great guitar player, and Bob's vocals are just great. Deep Winter. Now this is a bit acoustic, and Vinnie's guitar work. He's a great guitar player anyway, but when he plays acoustic, he gives it so much feel. The vocal from Bob on this is fantastic. Fire and Ice. This is very Magnum style song. Bob's vocals are brilliant. He just delivers on that. Mac Gorilla, a brilliant acoustic guitar from Vinnie. That great vocal as well. Fine vocal. Steel, my favourite track on here. One of my favourite tracks. Greg's drumming on this is great, but what I think, of course, Greg Morgan was in 10 as well. So they nicked the 10 drummer. Just an absolutely superb track. The Tower, definitely. This has got a bit of everything in this one. You've got bits of Magnum, bits of 10, bits of Dare, and it sort of fuses wonderfully together. It's a super little track. Fear of the Dark. I think this is one of Vinnie's finest guitar performances on this album. Great bass line from Gary as well. Epilogue, it's a little short thing, just something that's just a little instrumental. Vinnie is brilliant on that, stunning. Now, I think this is better. Although I said that the Legend is the best of that combination, this one's even better because it is more. It's people from 10 doing sort of stuff Dare sound. It's really strange. I'm a huge fan of this album. A lot of great guitar work from Vinny on this one, and that's why I like it. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.5. So there we go. 6 great albums, and if you've never listened to them, give them a listen. But I'm sure if you're a Magnum fan, you would have heard these. Okay, that's all for this one. Up next is retro ranking, and it's a little bit different. As when I'm recording this, it's coming up to the start of the Olympics, and this is where we hear a lot of national anthems. So I thought I would pick some of my favourite national anthems. That's what we're doing, so I'll see you for that later. Bye for now.